Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today for the Page Chewing Friday Conversation, episode 60 something. I don't know. I lost track.
Getting up there.
Yeah, get up there. But we're here today with Tina from Sound of Fury Book Reviews. Tina, thanks so much for coming back. I'm surprised you were willing to come back again.
No, it was so much fun last time. It was a long time ago. I think it feels like, even though I don't even know when it was, to be honest.
I think it was last December.
Oh
I think it
wow.
was, yeah, so it was over a year, but it doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was a while ago.
No, it was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you were able to come back. And Scott will be joining us. He'll just be a little bit late, so he'll pop in later. But Taylor, thanks for waking up early and hanging out with us too.
Yeah. Well, I'm always happy to be on Page Chewing. Whenever I can, I'll be here.
Nice. So Tina, I love your channel. I think you do the
Oh,
best book reviews, and I'm always surprised with how detailed you get with them, and you don't give anything away. So
well,
do you have a
well, thank
process?
you.
Yeah, do you have a process for that, or kind of a structure?
Um, that's a good question. No. Well, I don't know. It's kind of something that I guess when I'm reading, I tend to highlight because I get a lot of NetGalley arcs, so I read a lot of ebooks. I tend to highlight things of interest and then make notes as I go, and then I go back to them. So I don't flag, like, I don't have a million post-its like I know a lot of people do, but I flag things that I want to discuss in the review that I think are relevant or interesting. And sometimes I don't come back to them. I'm like, oh, actually, that's not as interesting now. But I try to be kind of fair, I guess, and like approach it from like a kind of like a objective point of view, and then talk about subjective stuff later. So I'll say, oh, the structure was really good here, but what I loved was this human alien romance, that kind of thing.
And go
So
ahead.
when you put those post-its in, you're thinking specifically, oh, this would be good in the review, not just necessarily your thoughts while reading.
Yeah, so I tend to, like, I'll highlight like certain quotes that I think are nice, or things that I think are interesting. But yeah, I tend to be reading with almost the review in mind. And I've kind of done that though ever since I went to university, because I was, I had to read so many things for school. I was used to reading for analysis. So I've kind of always kept that up, and I find that really fun. I guess I'm kind of a nerd in that way. I just love reading to like kind of analyze and look at deeper themes and things like that. So for me, it's kind of like, it doesn't feel like work. I like enjoy it in like a weird way.
Mm-hmm. That
And
makes
being
sense.
being an author, how has that changed your process writing, doing reviews?
Oh, yeah. So actually it's changed a lot. Like, if I look back at reviews I did in like 2010, like I've been reviewing things on Goodreads for like 10, 12 years. They were a lot harsher and a lot more about kind of like my feelings, where the reviews that I post on my channel, I try not to do like tear down reviews, especially of like other indie authors. I just don't, that's just like not what I like to do. I try to give like a positive, like, try to focus on as many positive things as I can, and then offer some constructive feedback, or some things that readers might not like. I try to kind of like hype people up for the book, even if it's not like my favorite book in the world. But a lot of that I think comes from having been on the other side, and having some reviews that aren't like the best reviews ever, which is fine. People, I don't really care, but I know some people get really, like, the first time you get like a 1-star review, you get like kind of hurt. But I'm just like, so yeah, but I
Having
try
a
to
thick
be like
skin
nice.
is probably pretty important,
Oh,
right? Once you're
sorry.
willing to having a thick skin is pretty important, right? Once you're putting your work out into the world.
Yeah.
So, but I think it probably helps that you know what it's like on the other side, having been a reviewer. So you can kind of see where a reviewer is coming from, maybe a
Yeah,
little
and
bit better.
sometimes you can tell that you're like, okay, this person just doesn't like this particular theme, or this person doesn't like. I got, for my most recent trilogy, I got some reviewers that clearly didn't like the kind of like queer aspects of the story, and I was like, okay, well, I don't care what they think. And then I'm like, I'm not gonna really care about those reviews. But then there's other ones that say, oh, I think that ending was a bit abrupt, or things like that. I'm like, yeah, you know what, I agree with that, and I could take that into consideration. But generally, I don't really read my reviews, to be honest. I just, sometimes I get my friends be like, hey, are there any good ones on there? And they'll be like, yeah, there's a couple new ones. I'm like, hey, that's cool. I only notice them if I'm going on to like my Amazon page to get some information I can't find. about the book. I find that I recommend that to other authors as well. Like, get a friend or a family member to send you your like top reviews, because then you won't get like, especially if you're like really sensitive about it, or if you know that you're getting like lower stars, than you wished you would get. It's just, it does hurt your self-esteem, I think, especially if you're like a debut author. So it's a very hard thing, I think, to be an artist in any capacity, like whether it's visual arts or acting or anything. Like, people are so critical and it's right in your face. It's not like if you're I don't know, like my husband's an electrician and no one goes into a Walmart and says, well, that wiring is done poorly, like, unless it shorts out, I guess. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. It's more of a direct critique when it's something from the arts, right?
Yeah, it feels personal, because a lot of the time you've put your like kind of heart into it, or you've taken things from your life. I don't do that much, but I know a lot of people take things from their life and then put them in their stories, and then when that is critiqued, they feel like someone's attacking their story, and that would be hard.
I imagine so. But just to go back a little bit to the way that you're reading with a review in mind, it's a new thing for me this year to really get into the reviewer space, like the official reviewer space, being on Before We Go blog and things like that. And I find that for me, there's two different reading experiences. When I'm reading for a review, not necessarily a paid review or, just a book that I plan to review. And then when I'm reading a book without that in mind, I find that I read differently in that case. So, for example, I'm reading The Lost Metal right now by Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to do a little review of that on my channel, but there's 50 bajillion reviews that came out of that book the day it came out. So I don't really feel like I need to put a full review, out there that I sit down and really type out. So I find that I'm reading it more for enjoyment. Like, my tabs are when I laughed, or when I had fun, or when I was angry, right? So I'm wondering, for you, do you ever go into a book thinking, okay, I'm not really going to review this, so I'm going to read it differently? Or is it always that deeper kind of thematic reading for you? Is that a habit at this point?
I think it is a habit, yeah, that I've formed for such a long time that it's hard to break out of it. I don't really reread anymore. Like, when I was a teenager and like a young adult, because I'm an old adult now, I would say, I definitely reread a lot of books. And so I think, I don't know, I think if I were to reread something, no, actually, I reread like some of the Dragonlance books like last year, and I still read them with kind of like a review in mind, even though I didn't do like a huge review on them. I think I just can't kind of break myself out of that. I'm also an editor as my day job, so it's really hard as well to kind of take that out of consideration. I always notice when people like, when there's passive voice or things like that, I'm always like, okay, gonna ignore it. It's kind of funny. I have to really turn that off, because that's what I do all day, is I look deeply at, like, do line edits and copy edits. So it's hard to turn that off as well. Basically, my whole life is reading. I never like escape.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's like, oh no, it's all in my office. And I keep saying I'm going to bring them out. My husband's like, no, leave them in the office.
Keep it contained.
Yeah, he says I have too many books. I don't think that's true. I don't think anyone who on BookTube would agree with that.
You're in the right space for that kind of support.
Exactly.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. He's like car tube. I don't know. Auto tube? I have no idea what car people call it.
I don't know, but I'm not surprised there's that section of YouTube as well. There's a section for everything.
He's always watching new videos of guys just working on cars, or like women working on cars. I'm like, where do you find all these? He's like, oh, there's millions of them. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, cool, I guess.
I cannot imagine that being riveting, but I'm sure other people can't imagine a book video being riveting. So
exactly, yeah.
There's all sorts of different rabbit holes you can fall into on YouTube, and there's something for everyone. I guess that's why it's great.
Yeah, one time I started watching these videos about this guy that takes old like flatbed cars that go on train tracks and just like kind of launches them down abandoned railways and just films it on like a GoPro. And I'm like, this is so cool. I don't know. I watched that for way too long. It was like a 30-minute video. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. I'm relieved now.
I fall into the like the RV life, or like the the van life kind of thing where people just like live in a van and travel around and like ride their mountain bike all over the country. I'm like, oh, and they like
Super
sleep in
cool.
parking lots and stuff. And I find myself just getting lost in that stuff. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was really in the travel tube for a while there. I'm sure I'll get back into it eventually, but there's this one channel called King in It that I loved a lot. They're from New Zealand originally, I think, but they've done like everything. They went all the way across, I think it was India, in like this little rickety cart that broke down on them all the time. They've lived in a van. They've gone like everywhere and done all these different types of travel. Really intriguing. Like, I love travel, but I don't know if I'm gonna ever do the van life. But
I would totally check. That sounds really cool. I would totally check that out. But yeah, I don't think I would do it. I love road trips, but I don't think I could live, in a van. Maybe.
They'll get you. Be
there's
careful.
the people with massive bookshelves behind us. I don't know if I could this into a van.
Exactly. Oh no, that's the thing I was thinking of. I'm like, where do I put them all? Like, what do I bring?
You just
How do
have
I
to bring
narrow it down?
ebooks. I think it would be the only way, or just
That's true.
something. But yeah, it's just not the same though, right? You just don't. It's not the same experience.
Mm-hmm. You can't take all your ebooks off your shelves and clean them and then put them right back where they were before and say you're organizing.
And Rachel, at this point, I just love having, or I take just having reviews on my novels.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough grind. And our friend Joawa's here. And Rachel, it's about to turn off that edit bit in my head too. I wince at something thinking my editor is going to get me for that. Oh wait, it's not my book. Oof.
It's the best because some of my clients have like a thing, a repetitive thing they do. And so I always kind of make fun of them, like, you're doing that thing again. I'm like, you're doing that using that word again. I mean, you've used this word like 18 times. Like one likes to use fascinating. I'm like, you can't say everything's fascinating. So just one time, okay?
I hate when you notice something like that about your own writing, even if it's not like in a book, just how you write in general, then you can never unsee it. And anytime I use that word that I've noticed I use a lot, even if it's the only time I've used it in like a text or something, I'm like, oh man, like I gotta find another word.
Exactly.
That's why I can never be a writer, because I'd use the same word like 50 times in a page. My editor would hate me. I was watching someone cut grass for hours, no idea how it happened.
When you catch yourself in that moment, you're like, what am I doing? What am I watching? Like, how did I get here?
Joelle, not me watching a guy clean nasty car interiors for a living before I go to sleep. Better than a lullaby.
Oh, those are great videos, though. Oh, they make you feel like so clean afterward. It's like, oh, it's all clean.
Satisfied.
It's like watching Hoarders, and you're like, oh, it's nice and clean now. Kind of.
I can imagine that's my house that's clean now, right?
Oh yeah, it always like spurs me to clean. I'm like, oh, I gotta go tidy something up now that I've watched the show.
I gotta go organize my books.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Gotta go dust them and put them back. Yeah. Counts. For sure.
I'm a procrastinator cleaner. So if I don't want to do something, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just go do something else productive, productive, whether that's reorganizing my books or, the house gets clean when there's something I don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Mine's more like, oh, people are coming over, must wash the floor.
Yeah, there's that too. Like, they're going to notice, right?
I know, right?
Excuse me. What is the spec?
Yeah, it's like, oh, my kitchen always looks this clean. It always looks tidy and everything is at a place and nothing's piled up on the peninsula.
You can see the counter. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no like kid socks and clothes all over the place all the time. For some reason, they're just taking off their clothes. I'm like, put them back on, please. It's the middle of winter here.
People are here. Yeah.
I find one of their boots outside. I'm like, how did this even get out here? How did you take it off? It's like under our trampoline. Like, maybe my dog took it out there. It's possible.
Hope so. Yeah, that'd be a strange one.
I just don't. I'm just like, no, this is weird. I'm just accept it now. I'm like, somehow this got here.
When you with being an editor, how do you choose your clients? Are you selective with who you take work from?
Well, yeah. So I have like multiple kind of outlets for getting clients. I am on Fiverr, and that is basically, yeah. I don't tend to turn people down. Sometimes I'll turn people down if I either don't really jive with the content, like it's something that goes against kind of like I just know that I'll be frustrated editing it because it goes against kind of like my personal values or something like that. And then that's very rare though. And then the one place that I work for is they just send me jobs. I can decline them if I want to, but most of the time they just send me sci-fi fantasy, and I'm like, that's good. That's all. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
So I've heard a couple editors talk about not too many horror stories, but kind of these weird interactions they've had with, when they provide feedback and they have these, this weird thing. So I was wondering what have you ever had any of those experiences where someone took your feedback in a negative or in a not constructive way?
Yeah, it's hard to like. I learn from it as well. Like I tend to be a very kind of blunt kind of editor. I don't offer enough positive feedback, and I'm still working on that. Like when I get edits, I'll get like from people editing my work. They tend to put a lot of comments that are very positive, and I just have to work on. I'm just in such like a mindset of like working through it that I don't pause to do that. And so I had someone said that I was too harsh, and I was like, okay, what made you say that kind of thing? And they said, oh, you didn't like anything. And I'm like, okay, I know what I did. I didn't make enough positive comments. So I really work on that. I did have one client one time who just didn't agree with anything I said. And it was hard. I passed her off to another editor and the same thing happened. So that was a person problem, I think. And sometimes your style just doesn't jive with someone either. And that's fine. I've had a couple people, I'll do a sample and then they say, oh, I went with someone else because they seem to get my style more. And I'm like, that's fine. Whatever. That's good. It's like hiring someone for anything, really. You can pick and choose.
Yeah, I imagine so. But there's a part of it as well where the service you're paying for. So
Yeah.
You kind of have to know that you're paying for someone to tell you what isn't the best about what you have, right?
I think some people go into it being like they want just a bunch of positive feedback and then a few commas fixed, where you're like, actually, this whole paragraph is very passive. You need to rework a lot of this to make it engaging for the reader, that kind of thing. Or a lot of the time it's like that whole showing and not telling thing where I'm like, okay, you can't just tell the reader the person's emotions. You have to show it with their body language. And some people don't want to put in the work. I think they feel like they've written the book and they're done. They just want someone to say it's good, publish it. And it's like, no, editing is a major part of writing and self-editing too, obviously. But yeah, having at least one editor look over it is vital, I think, because people just come at it from different perspectives as well. Same with beta readers, right? They're helpful for that, for pointing out like I interpreted it this way, that kind of thing.
I had a question from our friend Helena. Tina, may I please ask what your novel is about?
Oh, I have two. I have four technically. One's a trilogy, and that's a space opera trilogy about these. I think I have 5 different alien species, 8 different people, and they go onto this derelict spaceship and they have to escape. And it leads into like a kind of galactic war situation. And then my first book was a post-apocalyptic story with a heavy kind of love story aspect to it, but it's not like a romance, but it's about kind of 2 people who are kind of damaged people going through a lot of trauma and coming together and escaping or trying to escape kind of the wasteland that they've grown up in. And it's really fun. So yeah, one post-apocalyptic, one space opera, basically.
And this is something that I'm new to, like the sci-fi genre in recent years. So I know that every genre has subgenres, right? There's the space opera subgenre. What would you say are the main tenets to make something a space opera? Like, as someone who's heard that mentioned a lot, I'm just really curious what actually would make something fit that subgenre.
It's kind of like, it's so hard because space opera is almost like has its own subgenres within it, but I would say that the basic idea is that it's kind of like an adventure. So you have people kind of going to different planets or exploratory aspects. It's kind of like I can't think of any way else to explore. It's so hard because it's such a broad subgenre, but it tends to be a lot of exploratory, adventurous aspects kind of make it a space opera. Sometimes galactic war can be part of it, but that can also fall under like that doesn't have to be part of it. It could just be like a spaceship of people getting lost somewhere and trying to find their way back home. because it's kind of an adventure and different things happen. And I mean, that happens in every story, different things happen, but it's a lot, but where a hard sci-fi is focused a lot on kind of making it seem kind of realistic and bringing in real aspects of kind of physics and things like that. It's almost like you're experiencing the science, the reality, versus a space opera is more like you're experiencing kind of the hero's journey, kind of thing like that. It comes from, I think, I'm trying to remember, because I did a video actually talking about like the subgenres, but it was like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm trying, it's way in my like feed, way down in my like lists and tags feed or something. And I talk about all the different kind of subgenres. And I mentioned that, and I did a bunch of reading on it, and I can't remember anything because I also can't edit out a live conversation, so I sound less intelligent.
Well, I guess that maybe that sounds to me like the opera comes from maybe soap opera, where you follow the drama of, you know, personal lives. Like that's the linchpin point rather than the science or the exploratory aspect. It's more a human drama. It's kind of what
it comes from like, I think the old like 1930s books as well, because they took from that as well. And I think they were originally called space operas, and then it just kind of spawned from there, I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me, I might be mixing that up. I'd be a terrible teacher. I'm like, don't quote me, guys. I don't know when World War I started. I'm guessing this day.
Just a disclaimer after everything you teach. This is what I think is true.
This is what I remember in my brain that's been influenced by too many other outside factors to have a good memory.
I think most teachers have that moment. Oh, sorry, Steve.
No, go ahead.
Have that moment. I teach English in Japan, and
cool.
I've been doing it for many, many years. And there's a lot of grammar points that I have down packed. You know, I can explain them very well. But every once in a while, I'll get a really high level student. They're like, "Why is it this instead of this?" And I'm like, you know, that's a really good question. I'm going to get back to you next week with the answer to that. But there have been times in the past where I'm like, pretty sure this is the answer. So I've given the answer. It's right. I always go check it after. But I think most teachers reach that moment where they're like, that's a question I don't know. So
I love that. That was a great question. I'll get back to you on that. That's a great one. Yes, I use that all the time.
All the time.
Just for Helena, who was asking about Tina's books, the first one is, so just so everyone can see it and go check it out.
It's my book.
Yeah, and I'll leave the links in the description here when we're done. But so go check them out.
What Branches Grow is on Audible, and she did a fantastic job. The narrator did a great job. So there's another indie author who wrote this book called Raybearer Redemptor. And he told me, like, he suggested her to me because I read his book, and he's like, "Oh, I put it on Audible. You should, if you're doing it, you should, talk to her." And I was like, "I will for sure." And she was great because you get a lot of kind of wonky narrators who kind of apply to do a narration. You're kind of like, "Oh, okay."
That would be so tough for me to decide on a narrator because there's so many different, because you have a certain idea for the way it's delivered in your head, obviously because you wrote it. But then hearing someone else vocalize it must be a really strange feeling to have someone else kind of bring it to another format like that.
It was really interesting because it really actually kind of revitalized the book for me. Because, I'm kind of one of those people that I'm finished the project, I'm done, I'm not going to think about it again. But with this, I had to listen to the whole thing because I had to, make sure there wasn't any errors and things like that. And it was cool because it was so fun to hear her interpretations of what I wrote, because there were definitely inflections that she put on speech, or she read things in a certain way that gave it a different kind of spin. Like nothing that changed the overall idea, but I was like, oh wow, that's so cool. It was almost like listening to a different book in a way, and I thought that was a really fun experience. It didn't help too that she was very good at it. She put on really fun accents and stuff, so it was really neat. I highly recommend anybody that has a book to try to get an audiobook done, because it really gives you like a new appreciation for your own work.
I imagine that before, the narrator takes on the project, you talk about what you want out of it and the feel you want and all of that. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if authors, maybe not you specifically, because you seem to have had a really good experience with this, but it makes me wonder if sometimes authors get the product back and they're like, this is not how I imagined my book. I wonder if that kind of
probably, yeah, because we do it in like chapters. So she would send me one chapter, and then I would say, "Sounds great." I'm also not picky; like I'm like the least picky person. I'm just like, "Sounds great, sounds good to me." Or I think other people might be like, "Actually, I want you to read this person's voice slightly differently." I'm assuming that happens. I don't know. We had a couple samples come back or I work in publishing as well, as I said, like with editing. I also work in publishing, and we got some samples back for an audiobook, and it was so bad. And it was outsourced too. Like it was a license from us, and so we had to be like, no, please, this person cannot be like 50 years old and have a British accent if they live in British Columbia.
Oh no.
Yeah, luckily they'd only done like one chapter, so we were like, sorry.
Well, it's got to be tough to kind of break that news to people, right? Because
it wasn't like she was a bad reader. It was just like it just didn't suit kind of the style of the book.
And Helena, hi to you. May I check the name of the post-apocalyptic book? Oh, this is the space opera book. So, trying to add it to my TBR on Goodreads. Okay,
the post-apocalyptic one is What Branches Grow.
I will try to find it as we're talking.
It on my shelf over there somewhere.
Somewhere behind you, it's there.
Probably too high up because I'm going to put my books in my shelf like I'm an author, and they're like way at the top because my last name starts with B.
Oh, you have an alphabetical order.
Yeah, this is my sci-fi shelf, and then the other side of the room has two equally large shelves that have my non-sci-fi stuff, or like general fiction, I guess you could say, and classics, and like anything that's not sci-fi fantasy basically is over there. Because then I have, you can't really see it here, but in this side, on the other side, is all classic sci-fi, like the little mass market paperbacks. So, and they're quadruple stacked. That's how I hide them. I bring them in and I just kind of slide them behind the other ones, and then no one knows that I went to the used bookstore. To get more crappy old 70s sci-fi.
There's something about those old mass markets, right? I'm sorry, Taylor.
Just reacting to that, I was about to say, how I don't know. My shelf is based on aesthetics, right? So I remember where things are. But I respect the alphabetical order. And now that you said they're quadruple stacked, I can see why you would need that.
Yeah, your shelf is beautiful. Like, oh my God, it's got lighting and like decor and stuff. I love it. I'm like, oh, mine, I try, and mine just ends up looking like a pile. So
well, I decided, I was like, okay, this is going to be the safe zone for filming, right? So like this space is always going to look, no matter what chaos is going on, so I invested in the one space.
That's a good idea.
A safe zone. Yeah.
I need to do that. The problem is my microphone is attached like to my desk, but the other side of my desk doesn't have a way to attach it, or I would have it like spun around, but I can't do it. And I'm just like, oh, I give up. I'll just look like a mess.
We can all relate to it. Our friend Aaron had a comment. Which author's books would go with you to a desert island, Tina?
Oh God. How many do I get to pick? I'm going to pick 5.
Five's a good number.
Oh, okay. Alan Dean Foster, because he has so many of them, and I love his classic sci-fi stuff. And Samuel Delany, because his stuff is also sci-fi, but it's like literary sci-fi, and I love Samuel Delany. Oh, probably Charlotte Bronte, because I love Charlotte. Oh my God, who else? Tanya Huff, who writes like military sci-fi. That's really, really fun. Oh my God, who else? I try to think of it from like a practical point of view. I'm like, do I get all their books with me, or do I just get like one?
That's a stipulation.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, what book? You know what? I'd probably just bring. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what the like number one book I would bring anywhere would be, and I can't decide.
It's a tough one.
So hard.
That is really hard. I don't know if I have answers for that.
I'll bring like Ulysses or something. That takes me forever to read.
There we go. There we go. Then by the time you finish that one, then the others are good for a reread. And there you go.
Or I've
Like,
starved on the island.
or that. Or it's page doing. You could eat the paper.
That's true.
Yeah.
As we witnessed with Rob J. Hayes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you can. It is edible. Well, we may find out how edible it is, but
Oh, I can't wait.
I haven't had any complaints or contacts from lawyers from Hayes yet. So
he's still alive.
I did want to. Yeah, right. I did want to ask, just because you mentioned Charlotte Bronte. I took a lot of Victorian literature classes in university. I wasn't an English major, but there was a teacher that was just incredible, and I loved being in his class. So I'm curious if you are a fan of the end of Jane Eyre, without spoiling it for anyone, but are you a fan of the end, or are you? I'll just spoilers here. I hate the end, so I'm wondering where you fall on that spectrum.
The romantic in me loves the ending. The feminist in me does not.
Fair enough.
I'm like, no. No. It's so hard because it's so interesting. I haven't really done a deep dive. I know, like with Little Women. Oh, that's one of the ones I would bring. With Little Women, like she changed the ending because the publishers were like, you can't be telling young women they can be single. So I wonder if there was an element of that at the end of Jane Eyre. And I never studied it. I studied, we studied Shirley when I did like a Bronte course. So I don't know, did you study it like in depth, Jane Eyre? Or like, do you know if she had to change the ending at all or make the ending kind of romantic?
Well, we did study it in depth, but how do I say? Like the point of that class is we didn't have to write papers, but we had to read massive amounts. So when you entered his class, he basically said, this is a reading class and you're going to have quizzes, every week to make sure that you've read everything that you're supposed to have read, but there's no papers. So it's a reading heavy class. So we did read a lot of books and talk about them in depth, but we didn't always have time to go through like the context. Oh, okay. So that's a really good question that you asked, because I don't know the answer to that either, but that would explain what part of the reason why I don't like it, because I felt like it came out of nowhere. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This book was not building to this point, I thought. So
yeah, it seemed like she should have maybe stayed with the other group. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, we'll keep it vague, but yes.
Yeah, we'll keep it vague. Yeah, I now I'm really curious. Now I'm gonna have to go look that up later.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna Google that on my way to work.
Yeah, Shirley's great. I don't know if you read that one or not. By Charlotte Bronte.
Shirley, I did, but it has blended in. If I looked at what it was about, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Because
I haven't read it in so long, and I always mix it up with Middlemarch as well, because they're kind of similar. The like domestic fiction. Yeah, they do all kind of blend together, and I haven't read a ton of them in so long. I used to read so many of them, and I have to get back into it, but then
yeah, it's a fun time once you get used to the prose, then it's not jarring anymore and you just get to enjoy the story. The only book I think there are two books from that genre that I would never read again, and one is Bleak House. Absolutely not. Once in my life is enough. And then Wuthering Heights. I hate that book. I hate it so much.
It's funny. I loved it when I first read it. And then I read it again like 10 years later. And I was like, these people are so problematic.
It's just horrible people doing horrible stuff to each other until the last page.
I had a little book for my daughter. It was called Wuthering Heights for Babies or something. And it was just like accounting, or it was a weather book. And so each page had a quote from the book, and it had a different kind of weather. So it was like blustery, and it was like the weather was blustery and stuff like that. And it had like a picture. It was really fun. I'm like, this is the Wuthering Heights everyone needs. It just explains different types of weather.
There we go.
Yeah.
I had a question from Aaron. Would like to see that alternate ending. Any other books whose endings you would have changed if you could? That's a great question.
I know that there's some, but hold on, let me get inspiration from my
I know,
bookshelf.
I'm like staring at my shelves. I'm like, there's probably a whole bunch of them that I'm just like,
Right.
mine's more like, I wish those people had gotten together more than like an ending. Mine's more just like, oh, but oh, I'm trying to think.
Let me think. Right now, I'm just seeing ones where I like the ending.
I know that's probably
It's the opposite, but I think the book that sticks out to me as a perfect ending is Jade Legacy. That has a perfection. That is perfection. But
I still have to read that series.
do it. It's so
I know, I've heard it's so good.
so good.
Oh,
Maybe Assassin's Apprentice, just because that book tortures the reader. The end of that book is just, woo. Robin Hobb is like, you like my characters now? Suffer for it. Like that's what the end of that book is. But
I know.
no.
Dark Tower.
Mm.
I actually didn't mind it, but I think he could have. I think it was a classic Stephen King doesn't know how to end this book. I always say that Stephen King is about the journey and not the destination, because he has so many books where he's just kind of like, well, and then you go. There you go. You're like, well, all right. Did you know going in how this was going to end? Because it doesn't seem like it. No offense, Stephen King. I love you. And yeah.
Somewhere Stephen King's like, what?
Yeah, he's like,
yeah, this millionaire author. What?
Yeah, like another.
How dare you?
Yeah, I couldn't do the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
No, I read it with my friends when I was like in my mid-20s. We all read it together, and I can't remember if we talked about it. It was so long ago. Yeah, I really like it. I've only read it once, and so I keep meaning to go. Actually, no, I've read The Wastelands like 4 or 5 times. It was one of those rereads I did when I was younger, but I haven't read the entirety of the series more than once. So maybe if I read it again, I'll hate the ending, like most people tend to do.
Well, I had the ending spoiled for me, and I thought it was okay, I guess. I mean, without saying too much, but I just didn't like the direction he went, and in the was it Wizard in Glass? It just didn't work for me. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but
yeah, Wizard in Glass was kind of like a story on its own almost. It's a huge backstory book that was massive, and I like it as a book, but yeah, it almost feels like it doesn't really need to be in there. Went in a completely different genre as well. This time it was like fantasy, and yeah,
the whole different thing.
He's like, I'm just going to throw everything I like in one series.
Watch this. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I really just maybe the end of, was it The Raven's Shadow? Maybe the end of that one. I didn't hate it, but I think at the end I would have liked a different ending. But that's the only thing I can think of.
I'll think of one, in 2 hours.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll have a list.
Yeah, that's cool. I just got my answer, which is the second book after Raybearer. So Raybearer is one of my favorite YA books I've ever read.
I'm listening to it right now on Audible. Sorry. Sorry.
What do you think? What do you think?
I really like it. I didn't even realize it was YA, and I don't even like YA, but I really like it. So it's one of those exceptions for me. So I'm really into it. Anyway, sorry.
Same.
Go ahead.
Same here. No, I read it when I was coming out of enjoying YA. You know, not that I can't, but I have to get myself in a perfect mindset for it. But it was during the phase where I was realizing that, and it stuck out to me as being incredible. I just love the work that Jonah Fueco did there. But the second book, Redemptor, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Maybe I'll just stop after the first one.
I would say, I mean, if your curiosity killed the cat, do it if you need to. But in my head, Raybearer is a standalone, because I think this is just me projecting what I got from the book. So I have no idea about the context of the publishing. But my guess is that Raybearer was so successful and so popular, and rightfully so, that the publishers pushed her to finish the second book quicker. And it doesn't have the polished feel that Raybearer does. It feels like they were like, pump out a sequel, while this hype is still here. And it's one of those things where I think if it was a trilogy, then it would have worked. But she tried to fit everything into a duology. And it just wasn't. Everything that was so good about the first book was missing from the second one. And I'm like, oh, gosh, no.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, so because it it kills you because you know what the author's capable of, having read such an incredible book by them. So I would say Redemptor is the one that I have to answer for that question.
Maybe I'll avoid it. I'll just avoid it and be like, okay, there's nothing else after this. I had that
Maybe
issue.
Some people like it,
Go
but
ahead. Yeah. Oh, I should just maybe I don't know. I'll try. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. I cut you off earlier. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that.
I can't remember what I was even going to say. Oh, actually, yeah. So I read Vasquez, which is like the story about Jeanette Vasquez from Aliens, the second Alien movie. And it was written by, oh my God, her name's escaping me.
V. Castro.
Thank you. And she's a great writer. But I found it was so interesting, that book, because I can almost tell what the publisher was doing. It felt, I think I said this in my review, but I said that it felt like they said you have 400 pages or whatever, certain number word count. You have to get all of these plot points in and do it, because it felt like it felt like it should have been 2 books or 3 books even, because the first like third of the book is about Jeanette's backstory, which is really good. It's poignant and really interesting and like got a lot of like really interesting themes to it. And then it stops, and then like, because she dies, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Aliens, sorry, but she has alert. Yeah, I know, right? She has 2 children, twins. I don't think she mentions them in the movie. I think they invented them for the book, and it's about kind of their life, but you get their entire life plus this whole thing about aliens shoved in as well, and it just felt like so rushed, and I was like, oh, why? Why? This could have been so cool. It had a cool fight scene at the end, but like everything leading up to it is just like all over the place. I was like, I don't think this is a writing thing. I think this is a space problem.
That's disappointing. Yeah, I saw your review on that one too.
I don't know for sure. It's my opinion.
Have you read Fairy Tale by Stephen King? Helena mentions I would have changed the ending of Fairy Tale, or maybe the final third.
I haven't yet. It's on my list. So many things to read.
Our friend Brad Esser, I love the ending of Dark Tower's perfection, in my opinion. It's very.
See, I need to reread it. Because so many people have told me that they don't like it, but I remember liking it. So now I'm like,
Daniel, I knew how Dark Tower was going to end before I read it, and I didn't mind it. I wish the whole series was more like The Gunslinger, though, the opposite of most people, it seems. The Gunslinger was really confusing at first, but the further I got into the series, the more I liked The Gunslinger. It was very, it kind of tied back. Well, I don't want to say too much, but it made a lot more sense the further I got into it.
Yeah, I think that might be why I think in terms of ranking them all, I would say that my favorites, Wasteland was my favorite. And then most people like the drawing of the drawing of the 3, but I prefer Wasteland. But then it's so post-apocalyptic, I can't not like it. And then Gunslinger was like my second favorite. So I think, yeah, if the whole thing had just been like that, I would have. I still really. I have all the fancy versions. I have all the colorful ones with all the pictures inside.
Oh, those are cool. Those are hard to get too.
Yeah, I know, it's got like all the pictures and stuff. I was with my friend at a used bookstore, and we both were collecting these. And we saw it on the shelf. We literally like pushed each other to fight over it. I got it. She's still bitter about it. Yeah, it was more like literally pushing each other. I think it was for probably drawing of the 3, because that's I have like, I think that one's like an original one. Like this one's so old, and the other ones I think are the second printing. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I don't know. There's so many printings of his stuff too.
There's a ton.
The only stuff I've read by King are It and Misery. So I liked them, but I wasn't like, wow, this is incredible. So it's not that I'm like never going to read King again. I don't feel that way at all. I just don't feel a desire to read through his backlist, really. Like I pick it up. Kind of thing. Yeah.
I love The Shining, actually. It's funny because I love the movie The Shining. It's probably one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies. But I also really love the book because they're both so completely different. And I think that might be why. It's just such an interesting. I love Cooper's kind of take on it and like the themes that he brought into it versus like the themes in the book, which are very different. I think Stephen King hated the Kubrick adaptation, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny.
Which, if you could only pick one, what would you pick? The movie or the book?
The movie.
Which do you prefer?
Sorry. Wow. I love the movie. I don't know why. I just love it. I love the tone, I think. I don't know.
There's a big debate
on a book channel.
I know, right?
Helena, actually, the very ending of Fairy Tale was okay. It was more of the second half, not to my taste, but I don't want to spoil it for it to say any more. But some parts of it were excellent, so still definitely worth a read. Got a friend Lana's here. Hey, Lana. Daniel, I think tie-in novels often are literally rushed. They're quick deadlines.
Yeah. And Titan's been pumping out so many of these Alien books. And I've been reading all of them. I'm obsessed with Alien versus Predator. It's embarrassing how much I love it. But I've got they came out with a book late last year called Rift War, which is another Alien versus Predator book, and there's flying xenomorphs, and I was like, I'm so into this. I'm the only one that gave it a 5-star review.
See, that's how you know I'm new to the sci-fi genre, because you said xenomorphs, and I immediately went to the childhood Animorph books. I was like, wait, flying children who transform into animals. I'm doing something's wrong in translation here. Something, right?
You have to watch all the Alien movies now, except for Alien 3.
Okay.
No, Alien 3 is fine. I'm not super into. Do you like Alien 3, Steve?
I like the assembly cut.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole different movie. The assembly cut was a totally different take on it. But that's another example of the studio interfering and coming in and changing all the different decisions that were made.
I had a big argument with my dad one time about the director's cut of Blade Runner. And we argued for ever, because I was like, no, it confirms this, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I mean, it's so hard to talk about movies from a million years ago and without spoilers. But yeah, we argued about what that ending, the different ending, actually meant, and my dad hated that. He hated that it was so concrete, and so if I like to annoy my dad, if he's had a couple glasses of wine, I'll bring up Blade Runner, and he gets so mad. It's all red in the face, and he actually kind of looks like Rutger Hauer now, and I'm like, Dad, did I watch it? I should show you my cute little.
Hey, Scott.
My cute little predator dog.
Hi, guys.
I told my husband. Oh, hi, Scott.
Hi.
I told my husband that I wanted a Predator Funko Pop, whatever these things are called, for Christmas, but they were way too expensive, so he bought me the cute little Predator dog from the worst Predator movie. And I'm like, that's fine, it's cute.
It is kind of cute.
So
It's cute.
My 2-year-old's obsessed with it. She keeps trying to steal it from me. I'm like, no, it's not a toy. It's my little action figure. Okay?
It's my toy.
It's my toy.
It's an adult toy. No, that's
no, that's something else.
No, wait a minute.
No.
I need more caffeine. I came out without even processing. Whoop.
Yeah, I missed that one. Hey, Scott, how's it going?
He's like, I'm leaving.
Oh, it's
What is
going.
this conversation?
Yep. What just happened? I'm getting all my stuff set up. All right, I'm good.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, just give us a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about you and your channel.
Yeah. My name is Scott. I run the channel Book Invasion, which has been idle for quite a while. But I mostly review sci-fi books, and when I can, post a random video. Right now I'm judging the self-published science fiction competition, which runs through May-ish, April, May. So we're in the semifinals now, which is cool. That's been taking up most of my reading, reading some good self-published sci-fi. There's some duds, but we try to filter through it all, judge it, and may the best book win. But yeah, the rest of that is, check me out. Book Invasion is the channel, but you'll probably find a bunch of old videos, backlist books, and old reviews from books that nobody's ever heard of. But that's what I pride myself on. So go find some good stuff. So yeah.
The self-published competitions are almost a job on their own, right, Taylor? I mean, it's
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. In a good way. I mean, we volunteer to do it, but yeah, it's a lot. I'm on the SPSFC side.
Yeah.
So.
And we're only on our second year of the science fiction one, and there's been hurdles, and we're trying to adjust how we're reading and judging, and being in the Discord with all the judges and the authors are kind of, they're always more lessons learned than things. We're adjusting and trying to make it better and easier, getting the word out more. That's my dog. And trying to do, trying to find, more way to boost stuff that we can and get things out there so more authors can join and it grows and grows. So it's been fun though.
Reedsy has a list. I don't know if you did this. Reedsy does a list of contests all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And did you put it on that this year?
No, I don't think so. But there was one other place. It was like the world. I don't know. There was another place that had a bunch of the competitions, but I tried to even set up a wiki page, like a Wikipedia page for the competition, and they said they wouldn't publish it because we don't have as many external links that are just informational as opposed to self-promoting links to be like, oh, I'll post a link about it and then here's a reference, and they're like, no, you can't do it yourself. So I tried to I copied the SPSFC
We're on
wiki
to you,
page.
man.
Yeah, so I went to SPSFC and I just exact content, and they just took out fantasy, put sci-fi, hi, and then tried to put some reference links, but it didn't work. Dog, come here.
You have to show the dog if the dog's awesome.
We have to know, is it a predator dog?
Is it so cute? Yeah, is it as cute as this dog?
Yeah.
Actually, my pug used to look like this pretty much. She was terrible.
She's adorable.
Oh,
she's a treacherous beast.
I love dogs.
Oh, me too.
I locked mine in the basement, so I can't show him. He also won't fit on my lap because he's a Shepherd Mastiff, so he's very big.
Oh, wow.
So he's never in any of my videos because he's also annoying. He barks all the time.
And now she's gonna roll around on the floor and scratch her back. All right.
Where I live right now, they don't allow it, but one day.
Yeah, that predator dog looks a lot like my dog.
You have pugs too, right?
Yeah, I have a pug and a bull pug. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a pug. He's gone now. He passed last year. He used to be in my end thing. So he passed actually around this time last year in March. And so I left his end screen on until December. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time. I'll take him out. I was like, oh. So yeah, he was my little baby for 12 years.
Pugs are really something. You get used to the snorting and the farting and the snoring, and it's just when it's annoying at first, and then you get used to it, and then when they're not around, it's like a big bummer.
Yeah, I'm I don't hear him sneezing or making gross licking noises, and I'm sad by that for some reason.
I was gonna pull out a book here.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
Did
we already plug this?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about the audiobook, how the progress was, or if that's still in production.
Oh, I was for my other one. It's for my post-apocalyptic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out now. Yeah. I can send if anyone wants an audiobook code, I can send you a code for free. I have 1 million codes. So just let me know.
I have a few others. So what was I just reading? Oh, I started reading the second Antimatter Blues. I got the audio on NetGalley for that. So I started listening to that.
Look what I've got.
Yeah.
You like this book, right? Yeah, well,
look
look what mine has. Mine's signed.
Oh, hey.
Yours is signed too?
Mine's signed too.
Awesome. Sorry. This book, I love this book.
Yeah, I know. And
So
he gave me his little card with this.
Yeah,
cool
I had this little card too. He gave me a pin. Has the little pickles on it.
I didn't get a pin. Mine says never forget to eat your pickles. Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah, I didn't even get to meet him. My one of my friends knows him, is friends with him, and so she met him at I think it was the Armadillo Con or something.
Yeah, I didn't
in
meet
Texas. Yeah.
I ordered that one from his local, whatever he put on Twitter, that my local bookshop has signed copies, so I ordered one from them.
And my friend just mailed it to me, and she was like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Oh my god." It's so funny.
Yeah,
It's about
it
this
is.
man and his friend, and they get abducted by this crazy alien guy, and it's that's the worst
Yeah.
explanation ever, but that's basically what happens.
The-
It's a
it-
comedy.
Then it just goes into these weird avenues of like consciousness and levels of crazy, weird intertwined memories from other people, and it was just like that part was just like this is getting, what am I reading now?
Bonkers, yeah. And there's that really sad part kind of in the middle that got like really
Yeah.
deep and really dark, and you're like, oh my god, I'm like crying.
It's
I'm like,
just
please
such a
show the
roller
weird
coaster.
alien again.
Yeah. No, I loved it.
Yeah, it was so good.
So, what is the book and the author?
Sorry, it's Stringers by Chris Panatier.
Yeah.
It's got a really cool cover.
It's a nice cover.
Yeah, it's very shiny. I love
Definitely
the
stands
bright
out. Lime
colors.
green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to see, but it's got like very interesting kind of strings, because that's why it's called Stringers.
It's a
I
little
guess.
it's a little on the side of Hitchhiker's Guide, but then it also gets to, I don't know, just it's like Interstellar. Now my son's vacuuming the house as his punishment for stomping on his glasses this morning. No, they woke up early and they started making like videos with the iPad. So they propped the iPad up and they were just being goofballs on it, like, look, I can kill my brother. And they were fighting with each other. And then he goes, look at me, haha. He take his glasses off, he threw them on the floor, and he like stomped on them. And we were just like, this morning I woke up and I opened his glasses case and there's a piece of tape on the side. I was like, and then I looked at them and they're all bent. He's like, I stomped on him. I was like, yeah. And then he's like, yeah, we were making videos. And so I was like, all right, let's watch the replay. And then I go to the iPad and I play the video, and him and his brother are fighting. And sure enough, he takes the thing off and he stomps on him. So now his punishment is vacuuming the house and taking out the trash. He's 7. He's a troublemaker.
Oh.
Doesn't realize how expensive those things that go on his
Yeah.
face are yet.
Yeah, his brother already had his replaced. He's not yet, so we only need to pay like $50 for the replacements. But
Mm-hmm.
The joys of parenthood, huh?
yeah, it's just I was like, why did you even do that? You know, you would need to wear those. And I don't know. He's just doing, of course, probably modeling the fail videos he watches on YouTube or something. Like, look at me being a doofus.
Remember the days when we didn't have video evidence of every stupid thing we did, and you could just
Yeah,
like,
right.
make things up and be like,
I am
they
so
fell off my
glad.
face.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
glad.
Exactly. I had nothing to do with this.
yeah.
Can't prove it otherwise.
Even pictures of me from like when I'm 17 and 18, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
Right.
So glad. I
Right.
used to dress like Michelle Rodriguez in Fast and Furious, like, low cut cargo pants, thong out, tiny little like tank top, and then I thought it was so cool. And no.
Yep.
I had a bit like Linkin Park phase where I had bleach tipped spiked hair. I had the chain necklaces on and
Love
like
it.
the wallet chain pants, and I had like those thick leather wrist like bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was when I worked at the record store, because then I was like I was the modern rock kind of guy working at a record store, and that place was awesome.
Yeah, I worked at a video store, so
Yeah.
I was a video store girl for like 6 years. I
Nice.
worked there it was a mom and pop shop as well, so
Yeah.
it was like I knew like everybody, and there were like a few creepers, but most people were really
Yeah.
nice. They would like come in and just like talk to me.
I had, unfortunately, 2 back-to-back phases. So I had the Hot Topic phase,
Yeah.
and then I had the UGG phase.
Yeah.
And they were back-to-back. So there's a good span of like 4 years of pictures where I'm like, oh, dear God,
Yeah,
please
yeah.
scrub these from the internet. No one needs to see
Yep.
these.
Yeah, I feel bad for like kids now that are going to post everything on Instagram or whatever, and then they're going to that evidence will just be out there. It's like you try to get a job in 10 years, and someone like, well, look what you were doing when you were 17.
Yeah, that was even when I when I started my channel and I was being all like the edgelord guy, being like, oh, nobody reads good sci-fi and they're all talking about blah blah blah. And then it's like, well, my kids may see this, or my prospects. There was one time when somebody at one of my previous jobs found my YouTube channel, and I only told like one person in confidence, and it didn't market it, but they're like, then they brought me in on an eval. like, we saw your YouTube video. We want that Scott to work for us because we can tell he's passionate and enthusiastic about it, and we have never seen that here at your job." And I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? Like, do you think I'm going to be passionate about writing a process diagram as much as I am reading like a sci-fi book? Like, what do you?" And that's all, it's like somewhat of an act, you get on, you have to be energetic, you have to put on a face, and it's like I work, you're pushing me to work 9-10 hour days doing these documentations. I'm not gonna come in and be like, "Hey, welcome to my work day. Today we're gonna talk about this process
That
diagram."
is so out of line. We want
Yeah.
you to take your hobby energy and bring it to work. Absolutely not. That's hobby energy.
That's wild that happened. I can't believe that. Oh my
And
god.
I don't know who leaked it, like who told them about it, because it's not anywhere else. You can't like look me up and Google me and find my YouTube channel. But I don't know. Somebody somewhere did it, and then they did that, and it wasn't long after that before the management was just like they were more concerned about like my attitude and how I projected myself in the role than I actually doing the job itself and like meeting my deadlines and getting all my stuff done on time. They're like, "No, you need to act a different way. We don't like you. Your personality doesn't fit your role." And then I was like, "All right, I'm out of here." It was just, it was bad juju.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But I'm so sorry, guys, but I gotta head to work. So,
right.
but yeah, it was great to chat with you guys for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry I showed up late.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
No,
Nice
okay.
to meet you.
Yeah, you too. You too. I'll go dig up your video of the different genres.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Learn.
It's probably
about
bad.
No, that's not bad. I think I watched that one. In fact,
I was wearing a red shirt. I think it's the only time I've ever worn a red shirt. I just remember that for some reason.
Okay, I'll look for the one with the red shirt. Got it.
Yeah, no problem at all, right?
It was nice to meet you, Scott.
Yeah,
and
you
I'll
too.
see you later, Steve.
All right.
thank you,
Bye,
Taylor. Have a good
guys.
one. Have a
Bye.
good day.
I'll take my title.
So I wanted it to be Weird West style stuff the whole time. As soon as it went to Earth and drawing of the three, I was sad for the Dark Tower.
I think that's why the Drawing of Three isn't my favorite, because I really liked, that aspect, and then I really liked Wastelands, which is similar. So that's why when most people say, "Oh, I like Drawing of Three the best," I think it's people that aren't as into Western sci-fi. And I really like Western sci-fi.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I actually
Yeah,
really
it's
like
more
Westerns.
The other day, I only watched like the first episode of The Mandalorian. Like that's how far behind the TV movie trends I am. 'Cause we took the kids to Disneyland like last week, and we watched some of the Star Wars movies again to hype up the Star Wars land there. And then they saw Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. I got a picture of my son with the Mandalorian and this little like fake, holster of, and I was like, I should probably watch that show to see if it's appropriate for the littles to watch. So I put on the first episode. Maybe we'll let them watch it, but they haven't seen any of the TV episodes. They've only seen the movies.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think. I mean, mine's 5. My daughter's 5.
Oh.
So I've shown her bits of it, but not Mandalorian. But I've shown her bits of like Star Wars.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but she's not as interested. She liked it actually more when she was like 3. She loved it, and
Yeah.
now that she's like 5, she doesn't want to watch it. And I'm like, what? What's wrong with you? But even my 2.5-year-old knows Baby Yoda. I'm like, how do you know Baby Yoda? You're 2.5. It's like I don't have Baby Yoda stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, no, never mind. We do. We have a little box that has Baby Yoda on it, so never mind.
Nice. You got a little shoulder bag with the Baby Yoda on the back. And yeah, he's 7 and my oldest is 9. And we only watched the movies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We haven't watched 9 yet. And then when we got back from Disneyland, they loved the Guardians of the Galaxy ride because it's just a big drop. And so we watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and that was a little languagey. But
Yeah.
the little guy didn't catch on. But when they swear and the oldest one looks at us like slowly, he's like with his eyes wide, and we're just like, don't say anything. But they haven't been exposed to too much of that, which is weird. They don't really show interest, but now that we've been to the park and they've seen the characters, we'll probably do another. We'll watch the 9th movie, and then maybe try some of the TV series.
Tina's visitor. Helena had a comment. I was looking for more romantic Jane Austen ending with Jane Eyre. Wrong genre, I know. I find the ending most gothic fiction is a bit depressing, but I love the starts. We were talking about
Sorry.
Jane Eyre. No, it's okay. You had a visitor.
Did get to see my dog for briefly.
Saw his tail wagging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, y'all.
How's it going, Kristen? Hope you're having a good Friday. Happy Friday.
Yeah, it's been weird. I haven't been I feel disconnected from the booktube community, which is fine. I still watch you guys. I miss you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I've been reviewing. I put in some reviews on fanfiaddict.com because that was the place where I was like, well, maybe I should start my own blog because then I can just type reviews and I don't have to set up a camera and make noise when kids are playing. And I was like, maybe I'll just do a blog. But I was like, I'll just join up with these guys and put some more sci-fi up in their business. But those are now few and far between because I've been reading just the SPSFC competitors, and I don't want to put reviews for those out yet because then other judges may influence and bias them. So I'll probably do those once the contest is over. Some people do them now, which is fine, as their spoiler free thoughts and things, and you can they don't put a number or a star score, so it's hard. It's because I've already read 4 out of the 6 and I only have 2 more to go. It's I could put a review out, but
So how does it work for judging? So do you have to review the 300, or is that done beforehand and then it gets passed and then you read 10% of each book? Is that, I can't remember.
Yeah, we do 10% of all 300, the first 10 to 20%. So we divide them up amongst however many judges we have.
Right.
They each are allotted 30 because there's 10 groups with varying number of judges. And so each group gets 30. That is their slush pile, and then they eliminate that down to their top 6 or so, 6 to 10. We kind of varied it because people have different reading speeds. And then the top 3 out of those get put into now the semifinals. So now each group has 3, so now we have 30 semifinalists. And those 2 groups of 3 go to 2 other teams. So we now have a new pool of 6 books to read full front, 100%.
So is it 12 books total you read over the course of it, or is it more?
It'll be 12, and then whatever books make the finals that we haven't already voted on to go are the new ones that we have to read. So
there's 10 in the finals, right?
Last year we had 7.
Oh, okay.
Where that came from. I think it was just because we were reading too much and people were getting burnt out, so we cut it to 7. 7 finalists. So whatever comes in there that we haven't already read, or if our picks didn't make it, we get new ones.
I'd love to be a judge this year, actually. if it's on again.
We have judges this year that were submitted the first year, so they wanted to see how it worked, and some of them don't have very positive feedback now that they've been judging it. They're like, what are you guys doing back here? We're like, we're just judging books. This editing and formatting and the structure of the A, B, and C 3-part structure is all wrong, and we're like, I don't pay attention to any of that. If a book has one structure, I don't know, because coming from the author side, they know the techniques, and me, I'm just a reader. It's I don't have those that knowledge. We have a rubric that we kind of go through and we pick to get our scores out, but as far as the 3-act structure or the editing or the formatting and whatever, that stuff I'm not really paying attention to. And sometimes I use my phone and I turn on the text-to-speech reader, so it sounds like garbage, and I don't know if there's mistyped words because the guy can't even pronounce contractions when it's don't, it's don, and then I have to
How do you listen to that?
it's the only way I can digest these books in the allotted time. So it's a weird dynamic because you're listening to the robot voice, you have to process what he says and then turn it into your own narrative voice, and then digest the story as it's okay. That was supposed to be a sarcastic jab. Ha ha ha! Let me giggle at that. It's a weird thing that I've just kind of trained myself to push my brain to extra levels of consciousness. I don't know. Putting in the text to speech in one ear, audiobook on the other, while I'm reading my Kindle and the hardcover at the same time. My eyes are crossing pages. That's my ultimate goal. That's a human.
4 books at a time.
Yeah.
And Crystal does miss seeing videos from you, Scott.
Yeah, I'll get some more out. I just don't know when. Usually I've only made videos in the past when like my wife and kids are not home, which worked fine because I was working from home. My wife was not, and the kids were at school. So I had an empty house. But now since COVID hits, we moved. I have like a live-in brother-in-law in the house, and my wife works from home all the time. So I'm not going to be the guy who's going to like tell my wife I can't cook dinner because I have to go record a video. Like that's not gonna fly. And like, no, then I'm gonna be sleeping outside,
I always feel awkward like recording videos when my family is home. I don't know why. I'm posting it on the internet, but for some reason, if my husband overhears me, I'm like, don't listen.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
It's weird because like even she's not now, but I'm sure she's around the corner.
Yeah,
she'll pop in and like roll her eyes, like, you guys are nerds. Whatever.
How do they react to all the time you spend reading up for the competition? It must be very time consuming.
That's done in an earpiece. Like I have one earpiece in and one out, so I can cook, I can semi-listen, and I can clean the house. I walk the dog at night, so that gives me,
Nice.
half an hour. If I'm ever in the car, I'm always plugged into a book. But I'm never idle. I'm never still and like having something in like this now because kids are crawling on each other and like I have to be watching everything at the same time. So if I just have one ear in as much as possible, then I can get through this. So that's why I usually pick the ones that have audiobooks if they're self-published. Some of them do, and not all of them do, but the ones that I do, those are the ones I tackle first, and then I'll put an earpiece in, and I'll either get on the elliptical or something and folding laundry whenever I'm not interacting and the kids are in bed. I'll have an earpiece in and just plug away. And usually I could do up to like 1.75 to 2 times speed, and then get through them fairly efficiently.
Jeez. How do you find the time, Tina, to edit and write and review and everything? I mean, how do you find the time?
I don't know. Because I work from home, so which makes it easy for recording because then I can just record at at lunch, or I'll record at lunch, then I'll just edit kind of when my kid comes home from school, I'll let her have a snack and I'll do my editing kind of thing. Reading I tend to do in the evening or on the weekend. I do audiobooks as well. I don't know. I'm a very fast reader though. Like I read really quickly. So that also helps. I have a reading schedule. I'm very much a TBR reader. I'm not a movie reader at all. So I kind of I have charts on my wall that have like list of what videos I'm doing next and like when I want them to come out. And sometimes if I get behind because I'm sick or I don't know, I have a social life one weekend, I'll move things around.
Yeah. What's that like?
I know, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's it also helps that my husband goes to bed quite early because he gets up very early for work. So I have like a couple hours after he goes to bed kind of on my own, and the kids are young enough to go to bed at around 8, so 7:30, 8. So I have a few hours at that point. So that's when I tend to get most of my writing and reading done, is in the evenings. I got most of my writing. I haven't written a lot lately. I wrote the whole trilogy when I was on maternity leave. So my youngest would sleep only on me. So I would just sit here, literally right here, and I'd have her on here and she'd sleep and I would just type. So I'd get every day, I'd have a few hours of writing because she wouldn't sleep in her bed. So I'm like, okay, well, might as well put this to work.
Yeah.
I've only written a couple short stories pretty much. I wrote one novella and then I wrote one short story, 2 short stories since the trilogy in the last 2 years or so. But I'm kind of taking a hiatus in that. I'm like thinking about kind of what the next thing I want to do. I have another book that I finished actually years ago. I finished it just before my first kid was born. And it's long though. It's 180,000 words. It's a beast. It's like a literary science fiction. So it's like set in space, but it's about these people on this spaceship, and it's basically just like about their personal problems. So definitely literary fiction. So I'm like, I have to cut this down. So I've been kind of working on that slowly, like editing that and self-editing that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, this is crap. And sometimes I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, I've tried. Like 2 years ago or something, my wife bought me a book that's like 30 days to your novel or something. I don't know if I have it around here. But it was just like 30 days to get your novel out, and she gave it to me for Christmas, and I was like, okay, great, but where am I going to find the 30 days to do this? So I had a draft of, it was like 5 pages long, and then like I have a notebook of like ideas, but yeah, I can't. I guess there's too much reading, and the FOMO of missing out on the books. I can't sit down and write, and that's. I think I've only done it too. Since I work from home now, it's like when I'm on the lunch break or have a break, I would just flip over to the doc and just be like, I don't know what structure I'm working in, and I don't know what the narrative thing is. Like maybe I should learn how to do some of these things. I just put words on paper, and then I'm like, no, and then I put a paragraph above it or something. Like I know I need to make those little placeholders done, get like, action scene here, and then just move on. Like I gotta get that down first and then fill it in later, but I haven't even gotten, more than 5 pages worth of stuff.
It's hard. It's hard to find the time, especially when your kids are that age too, right? Like you spend a lot more time with them when they're kids. When they're teenagers, you'll have more time.
And then like, my son was at the laptop too, and he was typing up, and he like typed up a 6-page Minecraft story, and I was like, "What? No, I want to do that." He's like, "Can you print this out for me and make a cover page?" But I was like, "Man, I'm jealous."
I can't wait for my daughter to start doing this stuff. I can't wait for her. She can just start writing and reading, right? So I'm just like, I can't wait. She tells these fantastic stories. And half of them are silly. They're full of like poop jokes. But I'm like, 5-year-olds. But I'm like, they're so creative.
Yeah, it was pretty good. There were some like jokes and things, and like animals, companions and whatnot. And he's like, my little brother, aka the devil. And I was like, is this related to real life? It's like, no,
it's funny. My husband and I have been playing Minecraft again together. The PlayStation. So I bought Minecraft back when it first came out, when it was in beta. I bought it for $5, and so I get like perpetual forever updates for free,
nice.
which is awesome. And so I've been playing it consistently since it came out, at least a few times a year. And so then my husband and I, was it Christmas? I guess it was actually Christmas. We've been playing it for a while. Every like Friday, Saturday night, we're like, should we watch a movie? And we're like, we should just play Minecraft and have the Office streaming in the background.
He's played it. Yeah, that's been the only game that he's stuck with for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. Because he's always on there. We tried to get him all the Mario games, because we only have a Switch, and the little one plays it on the laptop. But they always just revert back to playing Minecraft, and then they end up just killing each other and losing all their loot and getting angry, and then we have to kick them off for a minute. Like, all right, guys, take a break. You blew up my house. He's like, I was just playing Destroyer. Like, but did you tell him you were going to play Destroyer? No.
Tina, do you and your partner kill each other, or do you loot each other?
No, we're working together.
Co-op.
Where we just build like boring stuff. He likes to build he likes to go on YouTube and find videos of how to build things that are complex. And I like to build like, this is a pretty lighthouse. It's a square and it has glass. Or I'll just wander around and try to find little villages and things like that. It's like, I've never elevated my game to like the level of building anything cool or complex. My brain just doesn't do that, where he's really into that. So it's a good mix, because I'm like, we should put some flowers here, and we should do this and that. I'm going to put a waterfall here. But I do actually have a certificate in interior decorating, which I never talk about because I never use it. So maybe that's where that comes from. It's very random. I have all these like English related kind of certificates in education, and then I have that.
We can tell by your neatly stacked of books.
I know, right? That's the thing.
Totally designed. No,
so bad.
Yeah, and my wife too. She's very like minimalist, but our house wouldn't. She's aspiring minimalist because our house wouldn't let you know that. And that's why I don't have a bookshelf. Like all my books are in 3 boxes in the closet. 3 boxes, that's all I get. I have some on my desk up here that I kind of hide. And then there's a few of my nightstands too. So they're a little bit leaking over. But since we moved in here, I haven't had like an actual bookshelf set up because she says they don't look as pretty as like the Pottery Barn catalogs, because they're all different, different spines of crazy fonts and spaceships. And I was like, all right, that's fair. But eventually when I have a man cave and music studio or something, I can just put some lava lamps in there and fog machines and do whatever I want.
Yeah, this office is like my cave. It has all my books in it and my computer. My husband doesn't come in here, but then I don't really go in the garage. So he's a classic car in there, and so that's his zone. He's got a 77. Pretty classic.
Yeah, it's people keep coming back to Minecraft though, don't they? After all these years, and I've seen some crazy YouTube videos of like these huge, like the Enterprise, they like block by block,
It's like working.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's crazy.
I saw one that was like an entire galaxy of planets, like just like in real scale modeling.
It's crazy.
But they're coming out with like a new Minecraft Legends. It's like looks like a platform. I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a third-person top-down.
Yeah, it's almost like an RPG kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
You can rally some troops and with your little flag, and they'll follow you, and then you point them to it. It reminds me of the old game called Brutal Legends, which was narrated by Jack Black, and that game was fun. And you had like armies, and it was totally cool because it was all like heavy metal. Yeah.
There's a Jack Black narrated audiobook of a Minecraft book.
Yeah. We listened to that one.
Oh, do you? Is it good?
Because, yeah.
I'm like tempted. I'm like, but it's like for children.
Either that was that may have been like the first or second one by the author, because that same author wrote other. And then Sean Astin narrated another one too.
Oh yeah.
We listened to both of those.
I should just get those for my daughter to listen to.
Yeah.
One was the island, and the other is the mountain. And they were, by Max Brooks, the guy who wrote.
World War Z.
World War Z, yeah.
Yeah, I've got both of those up there: the World War Z and the Zombie Survival Guide.
Yeah, so he read those on paper, and then we put them on audio in the car. There's some other like sci-fi authors that wrote. Mars Lafferty wrote a Minecraft book, and then like Delilah Dawson. She wrote Mob Squad.
Yeah, so I love Phasma, her Star Wars book.
Yeah.
I love Phasma because it's post-apocalyptic. There's a theme with the stuff that I like.
Yeah, I've been wanting to. He hasn't read many other of those like stories. Nikki Drayden wrote one. She wrote the author of Nikki. I had her book. Starts with an E. Catherine and Valenti wrote another one.
Yeah, so Tina, which Blade Runner edition is the definitive version?
Well, I mean, there's the director's cut and then there's the theatrical cut. So you'd have to ask my dad which one is the definitive version.
I thought there was like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, there's more, I think. But those are the two my dad and I argue about. Oh, God, I don't know. I'd have to... I haven't watched them in a long time. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which one is like the definitive one. I think the director's cut is the one that I like the best. But I'd have to rewatch all of them.
There was a trivia question yesterday that we had at work, because every morning we do trivia question, and it was how long in Blade Runner, how long does a replicant live?
4 or 5 years, something like that?
Yeah, it was 4 years.
Okay. Nailed
4
it.
years. Good job. Good.
I am not a poser.
I didn't know, because I think I've maybe watched the first one a long time ago, and it just the way that the lighting on that movie is set up, it just bugs the heck out of me.
The lighting is brutal. I don't know why they have to make things so dark and dreary.
Because I'm like in the shot where they're in that interrogation room in the first shot, they're in the pyramid, and then they show the inside of the pyramid, and there's like a giant spotlight from outside. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because you just showed the outside and there's no light. It's all dark. What is going on here? I didn't, and so I don't know. I just couldn't catch on. I haven't seen the 2049, but maybe I'll watch that one.
I like 2049. It's interesting. It definitely takes the director's cut, I think. Yeah, I think Ridley Scott just likes filming things that are really dark.
Yeah.
Like I remember Alien, like if you watch it on VHS when I was a kid, I had no idea that they had found an alien ship. I just thought they were walking around in the dark. It wasn't until I watched it on like Blu-ray that I was like, oh, there's things in this room. Okay, I get it now. 25.
Yeah.
So this will be a tough one, Tina, to answer, but since you're a fan of the Alien franchise, what was your opinion on how they handled the prequels?
I'm not as into the. I like to think of the prequels as like a spin-off that exists kind of in the same universe, but isn't like actually canon. But I think because I don't understand how it would be canon. I don't know. I thought they were fine. I just thought they were too Hollywoody. You know what I mean? Like for me, Alien and Aliens were so different at the time, and they were they're kind of iconic in like the way they were filmed, that kind of dark and dreary, but also very minimal in terms of sets and stuff. Where I found like Covenant, especially, had the aliens just jumping all over the place, like they were like, I don't know, like monkeys at the zoo, and you're like, well, they're not scary when they do that. You know, I prefer a more kind of menacing take. So I will say that I love Charlize Theron. I'll watch anything that she's in. And I thought it was fun. Like, I thought it was a cool idea. I thought the sets were beautiful, but it didn't feel kind of the same to me, which is weird because it's the same director, but I don't know. I don't dislike them, but I prefer to keep Aliens 1 to 4 kind of in their own little universe. I'm an alien purist, I guess you could say. But then I'm all like, Alien versus Predator is my favorite movie, so I guess I can't really say that. It's not my favorite movie. Jurassic Park is my favorite movie.
I haven't seen many of the. I think I watched like Prometheus when it came out, and I was like, "Is this related to the Aliens movies?" But then that's as far as I got. I don't know that I even watch a lot of movies, but there are ones that are just kind of weird that just keep coming up. Like, oh, I've seen that, but not like none of the Marvel stuff I've followed at all. Like the Star Wars stuff is rare. There's not really many that I have to sit down and watch.
I watch all the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Except for Andor, actually. I haven't finished Andor. I think I started watching it when I was very tired and I was like not into it. And someone told me, like, you got to get like 5 episodes in, then it gets really good. I'm like, but I'm the 3rd episode in and I'm just not feeling it yet.
Yeah.
But no, I love Mandalorian. I love Boba Fett. I love all the shows. And I don't know. I even watched like the Clone Wars shows, like the Bad Batch and stuff. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, "What'd you do while I was out with the guys?" I'm like, "I watched the Star Wars cartoon shows." Did a puzzle.
I was debating on getting the kids to watch the Star Wars Rebels, like the cartoons ones or the animated ones on Disney Plus. Because like, all right, it's on Disney. It's a kids show. It should be kids appropriate. So yeah,
there's some, like it gets darker at parts, but like I think it'd be fine for I'd let my 5-year-old watch it if she even cared.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
She's more into My Little Pony, which is actually kind of awesome. I'm like, I'm fine with My Little Pony.
Yeah, that cartoon is hilarious. My kids watch
it too. Fun.
And Crystal wanted so much more from the prequels. Yeah. It's sad the way that all worked out. I don't think we'll ever get a 3rd one.
Yeah, they're doing like a prequel now or something.
Yeah, they're doing one, I guess a series with where the aliens come to Earth, and it's going to really be, I don't know how they're going to make that work in the canon. It's not going to make any sense.
I don't know.
Yeah, not a fan. Yeah.
I would say though, in terms of like a prequel to Predator, Prey was fantastic. I absolutely loved that. I thought it was really good. Have you guys watched that?
I haven't. I don't know.
It's like very, very artsy. There's like these beautiful scenic shots, and like the whole thing is like almost like a comment on colonialism. It's so much deeper than you would expect a Predator movie to be. I really loved it, but again, I'm biased. I'm super biased. Predator is like my space boyfriend. So it's like my poor husband. He's like, "What does that mean about me?" I'm like, "It doesn't mean anything."
What about you, Scott? Are you a fan of the Predator franchise?
Yeah, I haven't followed it, but I know when I've seen the old ones, but that was about it. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't not watch them. But I mean, if I had time, I sure would. Yeah.
Yeah, Crystal's a big fan of Andor. She's been
Okay,
trying to
I will
convince
get
me to
back
watch
into it. I promise.
it. I've heard it's great. I've heard a lot of people talk about how good it is. So
I think I was just tired or something. When oh, good. See, someone agrees with me.
yeah, I'll watch Prey eventually. Just
It's
it was,
good. It's a typical Predator movie with a bit more kind of meat on it. Way better than The Predator, which I dragged my husband to see in the theater, and he was very mad at me. Which is, but I got this out of it.
Yeah, yeah. The only time I go to the theaters is for the kids movies. We went to Lightyear. I think it was we saw Strange World too. We went to Lightyear. And my wife she just hated the nonsense out of that for no reason. She's like, that was the worst Disney movie. I was like, what? What's wrong with
Which
it?
one?
Lightyear.
Oh, Lightyear.
Oh, I liked Lightyear. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, it was interesting. It had more concepts of, but the more sci-fi it is, the more she'll revolt against it.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, oh, more sci-fi. Actually, it's funny you said Strange World. My kids are watching that like right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, you haven't seen this. This is good for you to be distracted. Here you go. Yeah. I was actually sad because I was kind of there when they started watching. I'm like, I kind of want to see where this is going. Kind of into this. I'm actually kind of excited because like Trolls 3 is coming out in like November, and my kids are obsessed. So I'm like, okay, we'll go. And I'm kind of like, oh, I'm down for this. They're so funny.
Yeah, I hope I get time to watch. Like, I'm waiting for them to announce the Wool adaptation.
Yeah.
Howie's Wool series on Apple TV. That's going to be awesome. And then there was they're supposed to be doing a series about the Embers of War by Gareth Powell.
Oh, really?
I have those books up here too, like the signed Anderina books editions. Like, that's going to be awesome. Like, but I was like, I really need to like get time to do those specifically, because otherwise they'll be gone and lost and I'll miss the boat.
Yeah.
But hopefully they come to fruition and they'll get dropped or canceled or whatever, because there's just so much content. I think
Wool is like almost done, I think, because I actually interviewed Hugh Howey for I write for this website called postapocalypmedia.com.
Yeah.
And so I did an interview with him one time about Wool and stuff when it was first being filmed, and he talked about like being on set and stuff. So I'm like, that's really cool. So it's funny because all of the writers at the website are fighting over who gets to review it. And I lost that pool, but I got The Last of Us, so I was like, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so Last of Us. I haven't seen that either. I want to watch that too.
It's fantastic.
Because that's a game I have played, so I do want to watch the adaptation.
There are scenes from like the game that they've recreated into the show. They're really good, like really cool. But it also kind of stands on its own as well. It's good. It's so good.
What service is it on?
It's on
HBO Max.
HBO Max. It's Crave TV here in Canada. So I'm like, what's the equivalent again? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I don't have, because we dropped most of our streaming after football season was over because we wanted to watch it for the Chiefs, and now we dropped like YouTube TV and we had the Paramount Plus or something for something. But now we're like, well, all right, we'll readjust our budget for the new year and drop some of these things.
Yeah, we were debating that, but I share Crave I give my sister Disney Plus and she gives me Crave. So
nice.
We just do the whole sharing with that, and then I get Apple TV for my parents-in-law because I also give them Disney Plus. So if Disney Plus starts cracking down on passwords, I'm going to lose all of my channels.
Jeez, way to go, Tina! You're ruining it for the rest of us.
And we also share Netflix.
Oh, yeah, I want to ask you about that. Crystal can't wait for the Wool series either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it takes off and continues beyond the books too. That would be awesome.
That'd be really cool.
So isn't Netflix cracking down on password sharing? Aren't they doing something?
Yeah, I don't know if our friends, we got the message on our TV saying that, password sharing, is this your home address? And we're like, yes. So I think our friends that we share with, because basically what they did was they put us on their family Spotify plan, and then we gave them our Netflix access. So I think they might have been kicked out. We haven't asked them yet. So I'm like, I should probably, download or do whatever, export my song list off Spotify before they kick me off and I lose all my songs.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. lots of services. I think it was, during the pandemic, it was. I mean, that's all we had really. I mean, so but now I think
Yeah.
people are starting to kind of trim those streaming services down a little bit.
Yeah, we're always like, which ones do we not need? I'm like, well, we need Disney for the kids, and because I have to watch all the Star Wars stuff. And then I'm like, we need Amazon Prime mainly for the shipping because I order a lot of stuff for work through
Mhm.
Amazon. So I'm like, might as well just keep that. And then my husband wants to get rid of Netflix, but I'm like, no, the kids like it.
Yeah.
The kids use it all the time. I'm like, you're cursing me. I'd rather pay, or just like lower it to like the standard definition because they don't care if it's in
Yeah,
high
they
def.
don't
So like
care.
$10 versus 20 or whatever it is.
Yeah. My kids are on it the most too. Like we usually, whenever we want to put something on TV, we just end up sitting on our phones and like not watching anything.
Yeah, and my
So
2-year-old
they
still
watch-
watches Coco Melon, so can't get rid of that. Oh God,
we missed that. We were on the
you are
Blippy.
so lucky.
We were on the Blippy train when he first came out for a while with my
He's
oldest.
not too bad.
Yeah, but we missed Coco Melon. But now my son watches the Netflix show called Dogs in Space, which is hilarious because it's a series of dogs, and the corgi is like the main one. His name is Garbage, and it's like their travels through interstellar space to help save Earth because Earth is still where all of their humans live, and so it's hilarious.
My daughter would
I
love that. I'm gonna. So she's obsessed with Spy Kids as well, which I'm like, wow, this like I was like almost an adult when it first came out, but I'm like, this kind of throws me back.
Yeah.
But there's like a new one that's on Netflix, and Pedro Pascal is in it. He's the dad and everything. He's in it for like 10 minutes, but he's like the dad of the main character, and it's like it's the same kind of concept. But there's aliens and stuff, and she's obsessed with it. I'm like, okay, good. It's a show at least that I don't mind. It's not Coco Melon.
Yeah.
There's just so much content, though. There's just so much to. I mean, it's impossible to keep up.
Yeah, Netflix just keeps pumping out more and more shows for kids too. Like there's always something new for her to watch, and which is nice because she's not watching the same things over and over. But then I'm like, can't keep up. She's like, oh, this episode of this. I'm like, I don't know where that is in the show. You have to do it yourself. You have to find it on your own. I can't go scrolling to find one specific episode of Octonauts or whatever.
Then they'll always kick, like after they get done and tired with that, they'll flip on Disney Plus and play some Bluey episodes. Like, you guys can watch Bluey before bed. Bluey's hilarious.
Oh yeah, Bluey's great.
I'm out of the loop on kid stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Because your kids they're teenagers, right?
Yeah, they're a little older, so they're doing their own things now. I don't really. I kind of just get grunts from them now most of the time.
You're like, I don't want to know what we're watching on TikTok. I don't care.
Yeah, yeesh. That's dangerous.
Yeah,
my 7-year-old asked me when he can get his first iPad. I'm like, what do you need an iPad for? No, just watch YouTube videos. I'm like, no. The answer is no, never.
We have one that's like very small, and it's like for the kids, and it only plays like educational games. So I'm like, this is all they need to have right now, and it's mainly just like they're fighting here. You play your educational games, you can watch Coco Melon.
They're handy though, for sure. Yeah, to have around.
I think I'm probably gonna have to go find out what's for dinner in a little while.
Yeah, we can.
I have to go. I was gonna go back through my NetGalley list, but I think everything I have on my NetGalley list, Tina's already reviewed and posted videos. Where I was like, no, because I have Antimatter Blues. I have Rubicon by JS Duess, which should be awesome.
Oh, I don't have that
To
one.
read that. I have the Blinded Stars, the new one by Megan E. O'Keefe.
Oh, I didn't get
I'm
that one
super
either.
excited
You
about.
were getting tons of stuff that I'm not getting.
And I'm not even posting as much as you are. Then I have Hell's 8, which is the book 2 by Stark Holborn.
Are you in the book tour?
No.
I'm in the book tour. They're sending me a free physical copy. It's because I begged the author on Instagram. Right. She was like, my new book's coming out. I'm like, can I have an art copy? And she's like, oh, I'll send you my publicist information. I'm like, go for it, please.
All right.
Nice.
I have no shame. I'm just begging authors for free copies of their books.
Which other ones? Oh, I need to read The Scourge Between the Stars by Ness Brown. Which
I'm reading that right now, actually.
I've had that for a while, because that comes out in
It's
April.
short. It's short. You'll just fly through it. It's really fast.
And then I have The Warden by Daniel M. Ford, which looks awesome too. It's like a fantasy, but dark fantasy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then a horror book called The Monsters in Our Shadows, which has a really cool like ink blot cover. It's by
Ooh.
Edward J. Semble, who I've never heard of, but
Hmm.
I'm always up for new authors. So that I have like so many good things on my Netflix list, and NetGalley list.
Nice.
But then I have to get through all my judging for the SPSFC, so I'm like, maybe I can just put one of those aside. If I have 4 done out of 6, so it's like, all right, I should hop on one of these. And it's great when I go to NetGalley and I get the ebook, thinking I could do text to speech and maybe read it, but then like the audiobook comes out in NetGalley, and I was like, get the audiobook, and now I have 2 for the price of 1, which boosts my rating ratio because I could post the same review for each one. And I was like, yes,
That's a good idea.
Ooh, nice.
It's
NetGalley
great.
hack. Yeah.
I never
'Cause
thought of it. Mine always hovers around 78 to 80, which isn't bad. I mean, that's fine. Actually, one of my jobs at work is to approve NetGalley requests. So I kind of know it from the publisher side. And it's interesting because you can pay for a NetGalley subscription, like as a publisher, where you just blanket accept everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have any kind of control. And then if you pay more, you can control who gets the books. So I get to I creep on the people. I'm like, oh, this person's on Instagram. I'm like, oh, this person's, how many, like, if they have a low ratio, but a good social following, I'll usually approve them. But if they have like a really high ratio, no socials, that's fine. Like it's like a balance. It's interesting. And you have some people that are like posting links to their blog. It doesn't exist. And like, nope.
No.
Like, you're a thief. I know what you are. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see it from the other. It helped me like craft my own blog, my own like bio to like tweak it to be like look good to the publishers.
It's smart.
Yeah, because I don't think there were a few that I looked in my history of ones that I like get denied for. I was like, I never got an email for denials, but there was only like a few. But right now I have 12 on my in my queue. Some of these are from last year that I just never got to because I always want to get the new ones. And I have Antimatter Blues on there twice because I have the audio and the ebook.
Wow. I can never do NetGalley.
You don't do NetGalley?
No, I would be I would have a terrible ratio. I'd want to get every book.
Mine's still
That's the problem, yeah.
Mine's at 72%.
That's not bad.
But I've only had a small number. Like I have 65 that's been approved and 47 feedback. Which I know people out there are like in the 200s or something ridiculous.
Well, some thing is too, if you're reading a lot of like books that are easy, like quicker to read, like romance books are usually like 60,000 words half the time, and you can fly through them. So those people, they just they get those every other day.
I do the intermittent graphic novel just to keep it up there. I was like,
boost it, yeah.
I mean, those are still like 100 and some pages, and it takes a while to get through them all.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah, good way to boost it. Yeah, I would just be a wreck. I'd feel really guilty if I'd have like a really terrible ratio.
Yeah, it's tough to control which ones you choose to get or not. And now is just a bad time, but I think once I get through some of these, then judging process that I can dive into those.
And Bryce is here. My NetGalley ratio was bad, but I still get approved for plenty when I request, which I rarely lately. I have so many I keep buying I can't keep up with. Yeah, that's bad stuff.
Yeah, who knows? Some publishers too just approve everybody. Sometimes they don't care and they just like, who knows? I don't know. That's just how I do it because it's a small little press. So it's like, I also find it kind of fun. I'm like, let's see.
Yeah, there was for a while I got onto like some audio lists because I was on Harper Audio, their like weekly thing. Because I was just like, all right, who can I just get audiobooks from? Because I don't want to deal with these ebooks. So I was on Harper Audio. Libro FM has like an advanced listeners program, so I'm on there. And then Orbit sometimes has audiobooks, but not all audiobooks are available. But I found Orbit's more, they've gone a lot more fantasy focused than sci-fi that they had in the past.
Yeah, I just got their The Faithless, which is like the sequel to The Unbroken, which came out. Yeah, that was fantastic, actually. They approved me like last week, and I read it already because I was like obsessed with it.
Nice. And then I've been trying to get to Angry Robots to get on their like audio list because they don't release many on audio, but there's still like backlist ones I want to check out. And I know they had like a reviewer list or be part of the robot army and stuff like that, and I emailed them a bunch of times, but I never got.
They had a thing where I think they were transitioning to like another. I think they got bought out a few years ago or something. Maybe it was 10 years ago. Okay. They sent an email because I'm on their robot army thing, and they just like restarted it like last month. So you should
Oh,
email them
nice.
again because I think they have a new person doing it.
All right.
Because they were like, we're going to be better about this stuff. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, and now that I'm on like as a reviewer on FanFi Addicts, like I can throw weight around with them because the people that blog there have a lot of connections with their TBR con and stuff like that. So that can get me a bit of an in sometimes, but I don't throw that around as much. The only one I really want to get is the sequel to Rabbits by Terry Miles. That's one I have in my secret stash.
Oh yeah, you talked about. I read I watched your review of that
Yeah.
one. I still mean to read that. It's on like my list.
So it's just a weird kind of book, and some people are like, well, it's all just silly things because they hallucinate things, and it's all, Deus Ex Machina about the plots and blah blah blah. Like some people don't like it, but it's just you have to get into the lore a little bit, and it's based off of a podcast that he had running for years before he put a book out, and then they're all intertwined universes. Now book 2 is coming out called The Quiet Room in May or something. So I've thrown my name into the contacts that they gave me for that. I was like, if you have a physical copy, like I don't care, just here's my mailing address. Like I'm not going to wait to reply because that's worked I think before in the past. Like just send them the mailing address. You don't hear anything until a package shows up on your door. I was like, all right, because they don't have time to reply. They're just going to be like, all right, copy paste, like send this guy a book.
Yeah, I've gotten a few at random from Angry Robot that I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't even request this. Where did it come from?
So nice
Yeah.
feeling.
And I put my notes neck on. Like, if you have any art copies just lying around you don't need anymore, you can send me one.
Nice.
Very nice.
It's worked twice.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Not too
Yeah.
bad at all. I know, Scott, you have to run for dinner, but I want to thank both of you for hanging out with me and shooting the breeze.
It's
I guess.
fun.
Yeah. Welcome back anytime. Tina, for people looking for you, where's the best place to find you?
Sound and Fury Book Reviews. It's with an ampersand, but if you hit and, you'll come to a defunct channel that I used to have, so it'll tell you exactly where to go. So you can type in either one.
And Scott, where's the best place for people to find you and your work?
Yeah, I'm mostly active on Twitter, which is just at @book_invasion. But my YouTube channel is YouTube/Book Invasion. You can see some old videos. I mean, watch them. Books never expire. Go check out some good stories. And
Well, thank you.
I
Thank you.
I still have books that Scott I've saw you review, and I bought the book, and I still have to read them. So
yeah,
I get my shelf.
I get comments trickling in like once a month or something like that. Somebody comments just randomly, oh, I just read this book and like I hated it, or like your review was great. So it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. It's they're evergreen content.
Yeah.
But thanks again, both of you, for coming by and hanging out, and thanks everyone in the chat for coming by and interacting with us. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see everyone soon.
Yeah.
Cool.